We're live. All right. How's it going, everybody? Welcome to the second episode of the 10,000. If you missed the first one, check it out. We kind of jump into what the series is going to be. But basically, the name the 10,000 comes from Seth Godin's book called From Outliers. It's a really, really short book. If you want to read it, it's a really amazing book called Outliers. Super quick read. But he talks about this idea that it takes about 10,000 hours to become an expert in your respective field. And obviously some people are going to go quicker than others, but it's on an average he sees as about a 10,000 hours invested to become an expert. So this series here is about a half hour at a time, getting you like 1.5 hour closer to that 10,000 hour mark. So this is your team that's going to help you kind of get that 10,000 hours. So it's a long journey. Let's go. And today we are talking about successful habits. We're talking about how to get business. And so I'm just going to let, which one of us wants, well, guys, what was the first thing we're going to talk about today?
Connecting. We were going to talk about some of the habits, but one of the habits was, what do you do? Like developing systems and things that work for you. Yep. And so as a Ninja graduate, and you'll hear a lot about Ninja at 5-Star Real Estate because we're a big proponent of Ninja and the practices of Ninja. How to become a Ninja person in real estate takes time. And the number of hours that Paul refers to is your investment in what you do to become the pro in your craft. So one of the things we learned in Ninja was, I think Terry, what was her name? Terry Johnson, the head of Ninja, who teaches for Ninja, I should say, talked about Mary Kay's success. And one of the ways that Mary Kay, the cosmetic lady, the pink Cadillac lady, developed some of her successes was she woke up every day and she wrote handwritten notes to people. And this was just a business practice that she did. And I really think it's a lost art really today in this world, because who writes handwritten notes? I mean, people just don't do it. But when I get one of those in the mail, it's like such a surprise. It's such a moment of, wow, it's a moment of connection to someone just through their handwritten story that they've written to me. So I heard someone say one time that you need to have a 2x2 method of doing handwritten notes and connecting with people. But I developed a system called the 2x4. And I used to be, I'll be honest with you, I used to be really good at waking up every day. And sometimes even before I left my desk, I would put 2 cards on my desk before I left my desk the night before. So that meant when I woke up in the morning, before I did anything, I would write these 2 handwritten notes. Sometimes they got moved to the side, whatever, but eventually by the end of that day, I had written those 2 notes. But connecting is something as realtors that we have to do, because if we don't do it, no one's going to know we're there. They're not going to know we're relevant. They're not going to know that we're in this business. So we have to let them know, because if we don't let them know, someone else is going to let them know. So I do the 2x4, which is 2 notes, 2 texts, 2 emails, and 2 social media day. So just think about that, 2x2x2x2. That's a lot of connections in a day. And so for some of you, you might be saying like, well, I don't even know that many people. Like after 2 weeks, I'd be done. But I think you'd be surprised if you start writing down the names. If you haven't started to build a database of all the people that you need to connect with, this is the time to do it. You're just starting a business. And if you start putting together good habits and things like that, it's going to work. Paul talks about, the 10,000 hours, and we've all heard the stories about how long it takes to develop a good habit. Sometimes we hear 4 weeks, 6 weeks. I've heard 66 days to build a habit. But begin to do these things, get your business in a rhythm, and this is a great way to get started.
You got it. I'm going to kind of help you through that next step too, Tracy, because again, the things that for me, and I think back to my first year, my second year in real estate, I kind of looked at that as a routine. Okay, so a routine is what you do each and every day. Now, my wife picks on me a little bit because she says, Doug, you're just no fun. You're just no fun because everything you do, you have to begin with the end in mind. You kind of have to know the outcome, right? But again, I think maybe that's a little bit of the history of real estate for me, because again, the routine that happens each and every day, maybe I'm a creature of habit now after how many years of doing this, but if you could just set a routine each day, get up at the same time, get dressed for work at the same time, get ready for your day at the same time, begin prospecting, kind of a new connection, right? first thing in the morning. And I'm always one of those guys that says I'm kind of a morning person. Your energy's higher in the morning. Your engagement's higher in the morning. What a better time to start prospecting, especially around your sphere. Again, do the things, and again, we talk about this as a group, about working on your business, not in your business. And you're essentially the rainmaker. You're the person that's going to go out there. You're going to shake the bushes. You're going to go find people to talk with. And again, that prospecting time, for me, it's religious. I have to do that every day from 9 in the morning until about 10:30. Before I check an email, before I check a voicemail, those things have to happen, because you know what happens? Your day gets going, right? And after 10:30, then it's time to return the emails and the voicemails and all of the things that kind of encompass the rest of your day, setting appointments for the rest of the day. So I challenge you folks to say, look, if I don't do anything else in the first month, 3 months, maybe even 6 months, begin that routine. Begin that routine of setting aside, let's say in little bite sizes. Let's say the morning. Here's what I'm going to do first thing in the morning. I'm going to get ready and I'm going to plan for the people that I'm going to call that day. I'm going to literally shut my door, whether it's at the home office or your work office. Make those necessary calls to build your business, because you're the only one that can do that. And again, those are the things I think that in the first 1 month, 3 months, 6 months are going to be key components to getting your business off to a great start. So anyone else?
Yeah, I have a question.
Build on that?
I have a question. So if you're an agent watching us right now, you're thinking, all right, that's awesome. That I can do a habit. I can make a habit. But Doug, what do you say? Tracy, what are you writing? Because I think often that is the question of the day. Or Paul, if someone wants to talk to that, what are we saying to people? That's I have to pick up the phone, and do I read a script? What do I do? What are you doing? Oh, Paul, we can't hear you.
I think specifically to Kim, I love that question, because I was wondering the same thing.
Yep.
Imagine now that you don't have a book of business already.
Right.
And what now what?
Right. What do we say? What are you saying if you're brand new, Doug?
What I'm saying is brand new. And again, I want to let people know what I'm doing or what I'm about to do.
Okay.
And again, so my calls, and I always try to make a call in the morning to someone that I know is going to be a very positive call. Somebody that I feel like, man, they just want to hear from me. You know, they want to know what I'm doing. They want to know what I'm setting a goal to do for this year. And again, just set a goal for yourself to say for the first 5 people that maybe these are folks that go to church with you. Maybe these are folks that, you know, your kids know through school. These are people in your social circle. Pick up the phone and tell them what you're about to do or what you are doing. Hey, I just got into real estate. I'm so excited. My goal this year is to help 10 people either buy or sell a home.
Mm-hmm.
Who do you
So
know?
you're a campaigner. You're kind of getting your troops rallied.
Absolutely. And I just asked the question. I said, you know, who do you know that needs my help? And again, remember, these are people that know you,
right,
like you, and a very good chance that
Doug, a lot of people would feel like, yeah, but if I feel like I come from a church, that I'm somehow like blurring the lines between like my church thing and then my work thing. How do you get over the fear of people going like, boy, that Doug guy, man, he all he wants to do is sell me something.
Yeah. Well, and again, I think it's the way I start the conversation. Because of what we've just gone through with the pandemic and are still going through with the pandemic, I just ask common questions like, hey, how are you guys doing? How are you doing through all this? Can you imagine this? And the conversation just starts in so many different directions. But again, it's about what Tracy just said. It's about that initial connection. Again, you're coming from a caring perspective on how they're doing. Yes, towards the end of the call, it just kind of evolves into a real estate conversation where I would ask a question. Hey, you guys, I just wanted to catch you up on what I'm doing now. But more importantly, I need your help.
yep,
Who do you guys know that either needs to buy or sell a home? That's again, just a quick question. And I ask that, and then I'm very quiet.
You know, Doug, I think that's a really interesting I think that's a good thing to talk about right now, because I've seen a lot of what I've seen from agents who have had a lot of success early on. They were excited about what they were doing.
Yep.
So that's contagious.
Enthusiasm.
They felt like this was a good thing. It was almost like they were proud to tell people they were in real estate now. Like this was like, I've made it. I'm here. I'm proud of this business that I'm doing. And they were very, very good at getting their family, friends, past coworkers, people from church to want to see them win.
Mm-hmm.
How do you get them rallied behind you going, Doug, I want to be the wind behind your back here, buddy.
Yeah, well,
Right?
what I like about what Doug said is he was inviting his clients into a conversation of, hey, like I have this relationship with you and I was able to help you, but how do I have the opportunity to help your friends? And what he said felt authentic.
Yeah.
And that's the key. We don't want to be salesy. We just want to be ourselves. We're in this. Yes, we get paid to do this, but you know what? We like what we do. Relationships are important to what we do. And so when we take the element of it starting to feel salesy out of it, I think that's when the authenticity begins to rise to the top, and you're believable. People like you and they want to work with you.
Yep.
I think there's a couple ways too to enter into that conversation. One way would be, hey, have you noticed what's going on in the market? Or, have you noticed that homes come on the market and all of a sudden they're gone? Would you love to know what's happening in real estate?
Yeah.
I mean, you can just open with that. I think a new agent can just call up and you could say, hey, this is Kim. How are you doing today, Paul? Good, great. You already have a connection, so you're not having to reestablish that. The reason for my call today is to tell you, I am so excited about a new adventure that I've taken. I just passed my real estate exam and I'm so excited. And I just wanted to give you a call and let you know what I'm up to. I mean, very authentic. And then it's real simple. After you have that authentic conversation, you can just simply call and say, do you have any questions about real estate? Yep. And they're going to go, yeah, I noticed the house, in my neighborhood, 2 have gone up and the next day they have pending sign. My goodness, and become their expert. It's just asking the question, right?
Yeah. Exactly. I think too often we feel like we have to learn all of these like mind control tactics where we get on the phone and I'm going to run them through this thing, I'm going to run them through that thing, and I'm ready for every single objection they have, which is all fine and well, right? It's all fine and well. It's all good. I'm not knocking that kind of stuff. But, we're professional real estate agents. We talked about this yesterday. And again, I'm going to make fun of a couple of things. It doesn't mean these ideas don't work. Okay. These things are fine, but oftentimes you see realtors sending postcards saying, hey, don't forget to turn your clock back an hour. Or we'll say things like, hey, guess what? Spring's coming. Make sure you get your lawn fertilized and aerated this year. And we remind people about these weird seasonal. Seems like realtors have for some reason we've become like, hey, remember to cover up your plants. The first frost is coming. And I just wonder why our real estate agents, why is that our job? I don't understand that's why our job. I mean, we're dealing with negotiating expensive transactions. We're dealing with a really highly emotional experience for most people. And so I think it's okay to talk about real estate and be like very forward, as Kim was saying. Hey, Doug, how's it going, man? Haven't talked to you in a while. Hope you're doing well. Hey, I know hopefully you're aware I'm in real estate. I'm just calling to see if you have any questions about the market. It's going bananas out there, as you can see. Do you have any questions about it? Right? I mean, we can become these resources, and we don't have to know all the answers. We don't have to be all things to all people, but we can have an honest conversation that, hey, I'm here to be a resource for you, as Kim was kind of saying a minute ago.
Yeah. Well, we talked yesterday about the fact that the United States, and really Canada too, because so many of these HGTV shows come out of Canada, but we have this insatiable appetite for real estate right now. It's everywhere we look. It's the TV shows, it's the news, so the conversation starters should be pretty easy, right?
Right.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, people want to know what's happening. They're seeing it on the news, they're seeing it on the internet, they're seeing it on TV, they're seeing it everywhere.
So so what we've been talking about now is connecting, right? Yep. We've been talking about how to connect. And I want everyone here who's watching to know that if this is something that you want to do, if you were like, hey, I really want to start connecting with these people, but I do have some reservations, I'm not really sure who to call. How do I even like build my list of my sphere and who I'm going to even target right now? That's exactly what this team is here to do. Kim, you probably have a list of like one of those little brain teasers that
Yeah.
shows you all the people you might know, like where do you get your hair done, where do you get your
Yes.
car changed, think about your church, where did you graduate from, right?
Yep, we
And
do.
you can build that list of people to connect with.
Yep, we have that.
Okay.
And one of the things too is, so we're talking about connecting. I think if we do it naturally but it does take doing it more consistently. And so that's where the habit part comes in. We all know how to connect, but sometimes we would rather build our website, or we would rather learn the contract, which all of those are very important. We came up when, I believe when Leo was with it, we called it branding. It was our own little word. Remember that word?
Branding.
Branding. And so it's
Yeah.
a 5-star word that Leo Olson made up, I believe.
Wow.
And I use it because when you see, sometimes agents would rather work on the business,
Yeah.
but we need you to be in it. We need you, or not, let me say it back.
No.
Well, they're working on the website, but you really should be helping and connecting with people, because that's the way that you're going to get the transactions. But one of the things that's really important is staying in touch with them, which we hear a lot about, is called follow-up. And one of the things that I took away from Ninja, for years, I've always told myself, Kim, people do business with those they know, like, and trust, right?
Okay.
But one of my aha moments from Ninja was know, like, trust, and are in flow with.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm guilty of that because, as most of you know, I have full-time director of education broker here. So brokering is my first commitment, my first love. I sell to friends and family, right? But I wasn't in touch with them.
Mm-hmm.
And so say I do 9 transactions a year, that's less than 1 a month. I can handle that, but I wasn't in flow with them. And so then, what hurts is where I see a new listing come up and I'm thinking, oh, that was my seller. Like right now, what do we know about sellers right now? Like listings, right? That's like a cash cow. Like
you want sellers.
You do.
Yeah. And it doesn't hurt any less when a 5-star agent gets it,
Yeah.
and I'm just like, I haven't been in touch with them. And so I did a little example, like I'm practicing what I preach. So the beginning of the year, I wrote up a state of the market letter, short, they're going to read it in 3 seconds and pitch it. I copied them in the copier. I signed each one of them, put a little note on them, hand wrote them so they opened them. Out of 40 letters, I got 3 leads and 3 listings.
Yeah.
From people I haven't talked to. I sold their home in 2001.
Yeah.
And so follow-up is the key to your business, right? I know.
Yeah,
Paul,
it's not just a cool idea. It's
Right.
like follow-up isn't just like you get bonus points for follow-up, right?
Right.
Well, yeah, and this came up too, is that people think about, and I said this on our call yesterday with this group, but people think about your relationship with your client from the beginning to the end, right? There's a beginning and there's an end to the transaction. And so we think of the closing as being the culmination of that transaction. But Paul used the word, which really cued me to the word solidification, that when that transaction closes, it's not the culmination or the end, it's solidification. It solidifies now the relationship that you now have with this client that is unending, right? There is no beginning, there is no end. So this is why the systems and the practices of how you're going to communicate them, like during the transaction, that's easy. Like, hey, that's a no-brainer. Like things are happening all the time. But once it ends, like, is there a 1-week follow-up, a 30-day follow-up, a 6-month, a 1-year, an anniversary, a phone call, something? So this is where the habits that you form today will help you be a successful realtor, not only today, but going into the future.
The word adopting, I'm caught saying that a lot. And Paul, that's exactly right. At closing, this is when you've adopted them, really, right? So they're kind of a member of your extended family. So it is your responsibility to stay in touch with those folks. And quite frankly, as my wife loves to hear me say sometimes when I don't feel like picking up the phone or I don't feel like following up, she said, Doug, people like you. They dealt with you before. Pick up the phone and call them. Yeah,
they're not going to be upset to hear from you.
Not at all.
And to this point, this is a really, really good concept. And this is the truth. I'm going to share some stats really quickly here because we've talked about this a bunch in the past. And a lot of people watching this maybe haven't heard this. But in the United States of America, about 6% of people who have bought or sold a home hear from their realtor on a regular basis. Only 6%.
Wow.
Another 25% hear from their realtor every once in a while. Around that 70% of people never hear from their realtor again.
Mhm.
So the trick of this game to grow your business is figure out there's 70% of this world right now. No matter how many homes they've bought or sold, they are fair game and they are willing to work with you if you can build a relationship with them. And this is why once you have them, the best and smartest realtors out there understand that is my business. That is my business right there. It's like, imagine you have a garden and you've planted all these seeds, and these seeds are maybe really great relationships that you have, or these are transactions you've closed, and you water them and now you get them to a closing, and now you got these little sprouts here, these little flowers breaking out of the ground. And you look around right now, you see them all over the place, little sprouts come out of the ground. And what happens is so many realtors see those sprouts and they go, oh, look what I've done. And they walk away and they never water them again. And what happens to a garden that doesn't get any attention?
Yep.
It dies.
Yep.
And that is what will happen with our clients and our relationships. They don't love us so much that no matter what happens, they're going to work with us forever. There's going to be some diehard fans we have, but most people are going to need to hear from us. Otherwise, they're going to forget your name. I hate to break it to you guys, but they'll forget our names.
Right. And it works the opposite too, because my business, some of the people that I called were from 19 years ago when I first got into real estate. And so if you know my story, I moved to Florida, I got back out, took care of my son for a while, got back in. I finally went into brokering because I said, I love real estate, but I keep jumping back in and out. And then every time you do that, I had to reconnect. And it was getting really challenging for me to do that. So I just went back 19 years and reconnected to see which clients were still out there. And it was amazing. One of my clients, they were like family to me. He bought his first home from me when he was like 20. So now he's 20, 35, 40. And they've actually bought and sold 3 houses without me because I was in Florida. I was at U of M with my son. I was back and forth. But the minute I called them, they had another realtor and they had bought and sold 3 homes with her. Guess what? By the end of the conversation, they said, we'd love for you to be our realtor, Kim.
You were back in.
I was back in. And unfortunately, good, bad, and different, that's how fast this market works. That's how fast Zillow is. That's how fast. And so now they have, their home's probably going to go for 280. They're buying a 350, right? Just from reconnecting, however you do it. Now, I don't say just send notes and letters because we do want to pick up the phone and call, but this was one touch to a follow-up to them. It just happened that after I sent the state of the market, I got somebody stuffed a letter from an owner in my mailbox. They went our entire neighborhood. So remember, January 21st, I sent out a state of the market, just giving an update about pandemic and what's going on in the market, what's projected. It was very easy to read. Like a month later, I get this, letter in my mailbox. And I noticed the last name and I'm like, I wonder if this is so-and-so looking for a house. And they put it in every mailbox. I called her up. I go, is this Kathy? Are you married to Jim? And she goes, yes. Are you Kim? 19 years since I sold him a home. And so that's how you have to get back in flow. I got a call yesterday from a client from 7-8 years ago. I always tell the students when I'm training and teaching, I am kind of the epitome of what not to do because my focus is not building my business. But let me tell you the pain that I feel when somebody else sells especially a listing right now. So I've kept in touch. Like once I went over to this past client's house a couple years ago, and I said, hey, Brad, thanks for calling me. I'd love to come over, see your home. I sold it, I don't know, maybe 8 years ago. And I get there and I said, so I've moved around a lot, been in now the market. How'd you find me? He goes, the magnet. He had an old previous broker magnet on his fridge. I mean, it's always many things. So I've stayed in touch with him once or twice a year. He's in a hot pocket. He texted me last night and said, how are things? I've been keeping in touch with him just a little bit. He goes, how are things? I have a home to sell. He's in a hot pocket in Millwood that he's probably going to make $100,000 on his home right now. And I said, okay, question of the day. Do you have to buy? Nope. Moving in with my girlfriend. Like, yes. Because I have listings, but they won't list, right? Because they don't know where they're going. So I can tell you story after story where I am the example of inconsistency.
Mhm.
And it doesn't build a good business if you are living off of commission sales. It just does
No.
not build that way.
And Kim, I think that unfortunately most of our industry is plagued by that.
Yeah.
And that's really like, and I think that the if there's one overall theme of this live stream right now, it's develop those habits early on,
Yep.
because the way that real estate works, it's kind of exponential. If you can land, if you successfully, as Tracy put it, solidify a relationship with that, anyone in your life that you solidify a relationship with, they all know 4 people at least per year that are going to buy and sell. These businesses that we have right now, that these successful realtors have, it's not just the people you know buying and selling. It's
Right.
the people that you know buying and selling that love you so much that are literally fighting for you with their family and friends to say, you must call Tracy, you must call Doug, you must call Kim. That is how agents go from doing 10 transactions to 25 transactions to 65 transactions a year. It's not just the people that they know that are buying and selling. It's that they have advocates, and you develop advocates by being consistent and being an expert and being great at what you do, and always staying in touch and communicating properly.
Yeah.
So developing those habits now and keeping those habits will put you so far ahead, because most of us have learned the hard way, where we've fought and fought and fought, and then we've lost past clients until finally something clicks and you go, I am done losing clients, and I'm gonna keep building this business the right way. So
And that's why I went back to Reconnect, because I'm like, some of these people from 7, 8 years ago, they have to be ready to sell. And
Mhm.
once I got another client from, haven't stayed in touch with her for the past 7, 8 years again. And she got my letter and she said to her husband, it's a sign. It's a sign. So by the time I called her to follow up, she had actually made an offer with another company.
Mm.
And so then she called me and she said, our lender, and she named his name, and he said, we needed to get back in touch with you because you're the one that's helped us. And they didn't get that offer. And that other company was quick to take him and say, we'll come and list your home. And the lender sent them back to me. That's where our allied resources are really valuable as well. And so I'm hitting a little bit right now, just from a little bit of follow-up. What if I was focused 100% on this? I'm good with people. They trust me. They know I'll take care of them. They know I'll do good business, but I haven't followed up, and it's cost me probably a whole lot of money. But as I said, that's not my focus. My focus right now is to help agents, and being a broker at 5-Star is what I do 100% of the time. And just by getting just a few calls, connecting with them, I probably have $3 million in business sitting there. So it's just and they've been out of my flow and they're right back in it. I want to say one more thing. I know we're coming to the end, but sometimes we just don't want to pick up the phone. And I'll tell you stories when I was full-time, and I would have an open house, and on Monday I always wrote that note. Now we may write an email, but I would call them every Monday night. I would get on the phone and follow up with my emails. Now we have to do it much quicker, right? We do it while we're sitting at the open house. So I remember thinking, I do not want to call. I don't want to call this guy. So long story short, I call him up and he goes, oh yeah. I said, thanks for coming to the open house. Wanted to see if you have any questions, wanted to follow up with you. He's like, oh yeah, I've been working with so-and-so from XYZ company. I'm like, oh great. He's a coworker. He will take great care of you. By the time the conversation was over, he said, oh, by the way, he just never really calls me back. I said, so are you working with him or aren't you? I sold him back 8 years ago a $250,000 home, and it was reload, and it had just totally got dropped. So sometimes we think that, well, that they like a top agent, they're working with somebody else. How am I ever going to get in there? As Paul said, 70% of this market's hanging like fruit for you to grab, and you just have to ask the question. One, if you don't ask the question, the answer is no. And two, we can't be secret agents, right? Those are two pieces of wisdom for us.
You can't assume that everyone knows what you do. You can't assume they know that you are in real estate, and that A, you're in real estate, and then B, that you want to help them.
Yes. Yep.
All right, go ahead, Doug.
And let me say something really quick, because I'm looking at a note on my computer that always says, you want to be in the conversation.
Yes.
So even when you first get into real estate and you're making those calls to that very small sphere, people say, I only have this many people in my sphere. You want to be a part of that conversation, so that when it doesn't matter where they are, if they're at church, if they're out at a restaurant, if you're seeing somebody else in passing and someone else says, gosh, I really need to sell my house. You want to make sure that that touch that you made to your sphere, let them do the heavy lifting for you. Let them say, hey, you need to give Doug a call. Doug's just gotten into real estate. He's this, he's that. Call him today. So I'm always one of those guys that says, I just want to be a part of that conversation. Whether I'm actually physically present in that conversation or someone else that knows me, trusts me, and is quick to refer me is.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
Yeah.
And lastly, I'll just say, I say this all the time, but real estate equals relationships. Without relationships, there is no real estate. So find a way to be in the flow with the people that you know, and you will be successful.
Awesome. Well,
Good
on that
wisdom.
note, thus concludes episode 2 of the
Yeah.
10,000 live stream. And then next week, guys, we're going to talk about mindset
Yep.
for yourself and for your clients, about how to prep yourself and your clients for the market that we're in, and how you can have those conversations to prep them for the world that we're entering into, both buyers and sellers. So don't miss that one. We'll see you guys next week, and happy Easter, everybody.
Good.
All right. See ya.
Happy Easter.
Happy Easter.